Hi, I'm Delia. Thanks for clicking on. We're going to talk a little bit about the difference between awareness and hypervigilance. Um, so I get asked this question a lot at the beginning of people being aware of things like their nervous system, or maybe they're in therapy and they have discovered that they are in fight or flight or freeze quite often or fawn. So when these ideas are new, um, because we live in a problem-solving culture, and everything in our jobs, everything in school, in the conversations, it's always about what's wrong, and hopefully what's wrong and how can we fix it. Hopefully there's like two parts to that, but a lot of times there isn't. A lot of social bonding is essentially complaining and creating an us versus them kind of an atmosphere, that passes for bonding, is united front against an enemy, a common enemy. And we certainly live in an environment where there's a lot of those sides to choose. So when you start to become more interested in your own health and well-being, you'll find out kind of some things about maybe what's maybe wrong. Um, and then it's easy to take that what's wrong mentality and apply it to everything. So um, the healthcare system, the medical system, the pharmaceutical system, um, a lot of what do you call it? Health and well-being stuff all focuses on what's wrong. And what they have ended up doing, what's ended up happening is everything is pathologized. So every aspect of being human has turned into a pathology. So you're not noticing how you are with 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 bread. You're noticing that you have a gluten uh, allergy, which may or may not be true. And starting to become aware of things, often the first step is hypervigilance and wondering what's wrong. Like discovering you have a nervous system and therefore what's wrong with your nervous system? Why am I dysregulated? And all of that. Because what's wrong is always going to there's going to be tons more information about what's wrong than about what's right. Um, so having a spirit of curiosity, inquiry, like being curious about your digestive system and how it responds to things, is much more informative than what's wrong with my digestion. Partly because if you have a spirit of curiosity, you're willing to listen. And your body actually knows a tremendous amount and has a unbelievable amount of wisdom and has extraordinary self-healing capacities, which, conventional wisdom doesn't really talk about. They tend to talk about it like fantasy, like you're going to magically get over something, in kind of a snide way, or, kind of an airy-fairy, invalidating kind of a way. And the truth is that bodies do have tremendous self-healing capacities, but they're not documented because nobody's looked at it that way. The way, remember the problem solving thing? So that's where paychecks come from, is from solving problems. So that's a mindset. And that mindset is very limiting. It may pay the bills, it may get the grades, but it's not useful for living because there's more right that's going on than wrong. And your body actually is designed with tremendous amounts of wisdom, but because we're in an atmosphere that wants to promote technology and machines as better, than humans and bodies, you don't really hear the side about humans and bodies. So if you're interested in more of that, just send me a text or leave me a message or send me an email, delia@deliajaeger.live. But for the purpose of this, it's when you start to pay attention to your body and you start to pay attention to what's going on in here, it could be that the first thing you notice is that there's a lot of alarm bells going on. And then what often people think is that, oh my God, I'm in crisis because there's all these alarms that are going off. When in fact, when you ask your body, it will turn out that the alarms have been going off for some long time, but now you're starting to be aware. And you can think of awareness as you finally picked up the phone. The phone has been ringing, but you were ignoring it. And now you've picked up the phone. So now you can have the conversation. And you can be interested, curious, and listen to your body. And in the beginning, you're not going to understand the language because you've never paid attention to it and there's no books for it. And, you have to see the language is you have to get to know your body. But the truth is you get to learn your body and you get to learn your vocabulary because it is incredibly empowering to know what your body is trying to tell you. And it's incredibly empowering to know that it's a conversation. So a lot of times the body will have a sensation or will have a fear or will have an emotion. And we take it as like a fact instead of being in the conversation. And when you're in the conversation, you can feel, let's say you want to do something that you've always wanted to do, but you've never allowed yourself to do. And so the first thing you might feel is frozen, like, I can't do this. I can't do this. This is, I get in trouble. Some kind of fear, some kind of threat that goes with that. And if you stop there as though this is a message for you and it's not a conversation, then you might stay there. But if you hear the message, you can be curious and you can say, how old are you? And that voice may be coming from your 8-year-old. And it could be that you want to, let's say you want to go to a new restaurant at night, but you don't want to eat by yourself because that's goofy, and whatever your judgment is about eating alone. And your 8-year-old might be really upset about doing that because your 8-year-old has no business being out at night, much less by yourself and driving a car. So your 8-year-old is going to be full of anxiety. So instead of taking that anxiety as a validating sign that you shouldn't go out to eat by yourself, you could be curious and you could say, okay, so who's so nervous? And what are you nervous about? As though you care, as though you want to have this conversation. And you will get an answer. You will have the conversation if you are listening, if you're willing. So if it is that you want to go to this restaurant and you want to eat by yourself and your 8-year-old has objections, well, that's appropriate for an 8-year-old. So you can say to the 8-year-old, well, that's very sensible for an 8-year-old. I really appreciate your bringing that to my attention, but I am fill in the blank, however old you are right now. And actually, we could go to that restaurant. I know it'd be scary to sit there by ourselves, and we're practicing not staring at the phone while we're eating. And so, I might be aware of the other people around there, but I want to do this. Are you okay with doing this? And the 8-year-old can say whatever they want to say. And then you can kindly respond. So if the 8-year-old says, no, I don't want to do it, you could say, well, I'm such and such an age. I think we could have fun with this. If you if you're willing to have fun, and then kind of be in the conversation with the 8-year-old. And I'm just using the 8-year-old as an example because a lot of 8-year-olds did not get listened to, and so they're still talking, waiting for somebody to pick up the phone to have a conversation with. So it could be any number of things, but the point is to start being interested in what's going on for you and hearing what it is instead of taking that energetic impulse and making it be a directive when it's actually a conversation. So I hope that makes sense. If anybody's had any experience with, talking to their inner child or talking to their inner teen, any experience with the ACA concept of reparenting, this will make sense. And if not, just kind of feel into what I'm saying and see if some parts of you can grok what I'm saying. And if not, see if you're open to the idea of having a conversation with your parts, the parts of you that you don't usually pay attention to. So in the society, this is a very odd concept. This is very not conventional wisdom. So it is handy to think of it in terms of starting to answer the phones. And chances are you have a lot of phones ringing because this is a new concept. So entertain the idea. You don't have to believe it, just entertain it. Try it, see what happens. Do the science, do the experiment. What happens when you have a really strong no reaction to something? What if you ask about it? What is it preventing you from? What is it saving you from? What is it protecting you from? How old is that part? If you're, a lot of times because no part of you has had these kind of conversations, your younger parts don't know how old you are. They don't know that you're a grown-up now. And so if you can have this conversation kindly, and if you can be interested in your own quality of life, this can be really, really fantastic. And it is a really wonderful way of living once you get over the weirdness of the idea. So the more you're genuinely curious about your own well-being and about the sensations and about the emotions that are happening for you, everything gets better. So this is true for the beginning of the journey when you're first learning about things like your nervous system or your inner parts or your shadow parts. It's true at the beginning, but it's also true at every new cycle. No matter how many years you've been doing any kind of self-connecting practices, there's going to be a new area where you'd never thought of this before, or this situation has happened in the present time, and it has stimulated something from the past. And the first reaction can often be, oh, this is foreign. I've never done this before. This is weird. So you can go through the steps all over again of having to make the conscious choice. No, I want to do this differently. I want to turn around and look at this in a different way. I want to discover where the phone is so I can answer it. And I want to be in the conversation. So this is a lifelong process, same as breathing, same as brushing your teeth, same as any kind of self-care. And if you have trouble with the idea of self-care, think about, the car needs regular maintenance. So do you. It's not It's not selfish to the point of obliviating everybody else. It's not narcissism. It's not all the bugaboo things that people say it is. And it's not necessarily, it's certainly not only bubble baths and walks and hot tea. It's a lot more gravitas. It's a lot more satisfying than those things. Those things are pleasant, but genuinely being on your side is a complete change of quality of life. And getting slow enough to be able to do that, slowing down enough to be able to perceive yourself in new ways and to be able to hear the messages that your body is giving you all the time. And then discovering how to communicate with that and what your body is trying to tell you. It is one of the most rewarding and fulfilling relationship paths that there is. I think it was Joseph Campbell who said that the process of discovering who you are is one of the most amazing journeys we can be on, and that's certainly true. And some British humorist guy saying that be you because everybody else is already taken. And we live in kind of a puppy pile minded culture, very seventh grade. You have to be in the in crowd or you're an outsider. Well, there's a lot of us outsiders, and being kind of a when I think of myself as like a free range spiritualist. I'm not from any branded lineage, and that suits me fine. I'm very much into freedom in all the different ways that I can discover, and none of it fits into the conventional way of doing anything. But I never did, so that's my terrain. See what it's like to be curious and to be interested in what the different parts of you has to say, and let me know how this goes for you to start to listen to yourself and be interested, and pick up the phone and have a conversation. It's been, for myself and for hundreds of people that I worked with, and more, thousands more that I've seen. It's the richest way to live. And your body has such capacity, such self-healing capacity. And your body is 1,000% on your side in a world where everything is a war on everything. Your body isn't sick because it's attacking you. That makes me so crazy when people say that, because it's a great way to sell things on an ad, but your body is not attacking you. It's trying to get your attention. And if you don't answer the phone, then eventually it'll send the Mack truck to get your attention. And as soon as you start answering the phone and as soon as you start listening and being curious, you will be amazed. So let me know how it goes. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.